Commander Zexathari's four eyes blinked in rapid succession as she stared at the simulation readout for the 15th time that cycle. The holographic display flickered with the same devastating results. 98.7% casualty rate across all participating units. Complete mission failure. Total tactical breakdown. "Run it again," came the gravelly voice behind her. She turned to face Colonel Marcus Chen, the human military advisor assigned to the Galactic Defense Consortium. His weathered face showed no emotion as he reviewed the carnage displayed in three-dimensional glory above the console. "Colonel, with respect," Zexathari's translator crackled. "Perhaps we should consider a different scenario. This particular simulation has resulted in catastrophic losses for every species we've tested. The Valorians lost 97.3% of their forces. The Kektar Dominion managed only marginally better at 96.1%. Even the legendary Ashanti war tribe suffered an 89% casualty rate." Chen nodded slowly, his hands clasped behind his back. "And what was the scenario designation?" "Tactical Exercise Gamma 7, Defensive Operations Under Extreme Duress," Zexathari read from her datapad. "Multi-vector assault with limited resources, no retreat option, and cascading system failures." "Sounds like Tuesday," Chen muttered. Zexathari's translator struggled with the colloquialism. "I'm sorry, Colonel. Tuesday?" "Nothing. Load up the human battalion. Let's see how they handle it." The commander's antennae twitched nervously. In her 3 decades of military service, she had never seen a scenario so thoroughly designed to ensure failure. The simulation parameters were cruel. Outnumbered 15-1, critical equipment failures at predetermined intervals, no orbital support, and an extraction window that closed before any reasonable tactical objective could be achieved. The holographic training ground materialized around them, a barren moon with scattered industrial complexes perfect for an ambush. Chen watched impassively as the human forces materialized. 200 Marines in standard combat gear, led by a grizzled sergeant named Rodriguez, who immediately began barking orders that made Zexathari's translator emit concerning static. "All right, you beautiful disasters," Rodriguez's voice boomed across the tactical comm. "Intel says we're walking into a meat grinder. Equipment's gonna fail, extraction's probably a lie, and we're outnumbered by everything with teeth on this rock," the Marines responded, with what Zexathari's database identified as enthusiastic profanity and expressions of positive anticipation. Chen smiled for the first time that day. The simulation began. Within the first 10 minutes, Zexathari watched in fascination as the human forces did something unprecedented. They split into smaller units and deliberately triggered several ambush points simultaneously. Her tactical training screamed that this was suicide. "Colonel," she whispered urgently, "they're intentionally engaging superior forces. The optimal strategy is to avoid contact and watch," Chen said simply. The humans weren't just engaging the enemy. They were turning every disadvantage into an opportunity. When their communications array failed on schedule, they switched to hand signals and fire patterns. When their heavy weapons malfunctioned, they improvised explosives from maintenance supplies. When surrounded, they didn't surrender or retreat. They used the encirclement to consolidate the enemy into kill zones. Sergeant Rodriguez's voice crackled over damaged comms. "Torres, your squad's about to get overrun on the left flank." "Copy that." "Sarge, initiating Murphy Protocol." Zexathari had never heard of Murphy Protocol. She watched as Torres's squad deliberately allowed themselves to be overrun, only to detonate previously placed charges that collapsed an entire section of the complex onto the advancing enemy forces. "Acceptable losses," Torres reported matter-of-factly, his squad having taken 60% casualties in the maneuver. The pattern repeated across the battlefield. Humans treating certain death as a tactical consideration, turning equipment failures into advantages, using overwhelming enemy numbers to create friendly fire incidents among their opponents. By hour 3, something impossible was happening. The enemy forces, designed to be an unstoppable tide, were beginning to falter. Not because they were losing, the human casualties were mounting steadily, but because their tactical algorithms couldn't process the human responses. "The enemy AI is experiencing prediction cascades," Zexathari reported in disbelief. "It can't model tactics that are simultaneously suicidal and effective." Chen nodded. "The AI assumes rational actors. It can't predict someone who sees a 90% chance of death as better odds than usual. Rodriguez's final transmission came through as his position was being overrun by the last enemy assault. All units, this is Chaos 6. We're about to get real friendly with the afterlife, but we're taking these bastards with us. Initiate Broken Arrow. Make it count. Zexathari watched in stunned silence as the surviving humans, fewer than 30 out of 200, simultaneously detonated every remaining explosive device, power core and unstable system on the battlefield. The chain reaction was visible from orbit. When the simulation ended, the statistics were unlike anything in the consortium's database. Human forces 100% casualties, enemy forces 100% casualties, mission status tactical victory. I don't understand, Zexathari said quietly. They all died. How is this victory? Chen was already walking toward the exit. They completed the mission. The enemy facility is destroyed, the threat is neutralized, and intelligence was gathered on enemy tactics. The fact that none of our people made it home is regrettable but acceptable. But Colonel, the casualty rates are expected. Chen paused at the doorway. Commander, your species and the others in the consortium fight to win while minimizing losses. Humans fight to win, period. Sometimes that means everyone comes home. Sometimes it means no one does, but the job gets done. He gestured toward the simulation chamber. You want to know why we call this Tuesday training? Because somewhere in human space right now, there's a Marine unit running this exact scenario for real. They know the odds. They know most of them won't see Wednesday, and they're arguing about who gets to volunteer for the most dangerous assignments. Zexathari's 4 eyes blinked slowly. Your species is insane. Chen smiled grimly. That's what makes us effective. Schedule the next simulation for Thursday. And Commander, next time make it harder. These Marines looked bored. As the human colonel left, Zexathari stared at the tactical readout one more time. Every simulation had ended in mass death. For every other species, this represented catastrophic failure. For humans, it was apparently just Tuesday. She made a note in her report. Recommend immediate integration of human tactical doctrine into consortium defense strategies. Also recommend psychological counseling for all non-human officers required to work with human forces. Outside, she could hear Sergeant Rodriguez's voice echoing through the training complex. All right, you magnificent psychopaths who wants to run it again. The enthusiastic response from his Marines made Zexathari's translator emit a small puff of smoke. Some things, she realized, were beyond translation.